The 60s was the most innovative period of music that influenced the rest of the century. The Vietnam War had begun along with the Civil Rights Movement. The music around that time truly represented the cultural ideas in a rebellious world. Peace and love became the mantra. Even today, the most iconic pioneers of music are all remembered from the 60s. There's no argument, the 70s and 80s were all continuations of the 60s. Finally, who could not forget the glorious beauty of the psychedelic movement? Frankly, we believe this era was the most creative with hippie culture and strong social messages of our time. Bob Dylan and the Beatles alone have written more great songs than every artist in the 80s combined, let alone all the other artists like Janis Joplin, Joni Mitchell, Leonard Cohen, Joan Baez, Jimi Hendrix, Aretha Franklin, the Rolling Stones, and countless others who came to prominence during that decade. Tonight is a tribute to women in music, a journey through the 60s. So sit back and enjoy one of the most powerful and influential decades in our history. All right. Well, welcome everyone to 25Drive Live. My name is Alex Montañez. I am your host. And we have two very special ladies with us tonight. We've got Ashley Mayberry and we've got Diane Glover. And they are two of our cast members of six. I think we have, five.
Five.
Well, we've got some additional musicians,
yes,
right?
Yes, we do.
So we got a cast of 6 or 7, depending on how you look at it.
Yes.
And we're going to be discussing women in music tonight. And this is a very special dinner show that we're doing at Rovali's Ristorante Italiano. Full disclosure, I own Rovali's Ristorante Italiano, as you can tell by my shirt. And so I want to throw that out there. But these ladies are helping me to create some awesome things. I don't even know how to describe it. How do you guys describe women in music, a tribute to women in the 60s? What are your thoughts on it as we're putting it all together?
Well, I see it as a journey through the 60s, and narrated and a journey through music of what happened through the 60s. I love it because it's such a wonderful time for music and social change, and I just think it's great.
And I see a lot of powerful women that weren't afraid to express themselves, just learning how to be themselves and be brave and be bold and really throw their music out there. And it's been pretty fascinating to learn a lot about these songs and the artists.
Yeah, and part of me, the reason why we came up with this whole concept was we really want to celebrate the 60s because that was such a decade of social change. I mean, there
Absolutely.
were some very serious things that happened during the 60s, with the Vietnam War, JFK getting assassinated, Martin Luther King as well.
Right.
Vietnam,
women's lib,
the whole civil rights movement, and all those things were super important. But the cool thing was, if you go back through the decades, all of those decades beyond the 60s kind of went off of the 60s. Everything kind of spawned, because look at the 50s music and then the 60s music, it was two different animals. Mm-hmm. But, why, in your opinion, what do you think that change was? Why do you think that happened?
Well, one of the things I noticed is one of the songs you have me singing is some disco started coming out. And I don't know if that was official or not, but you can get that vibe, and I think that branched out a little bit there.
Okay.
Well, and I think women were able to express in music a little bit more than they had ever done before. Whether, lyrics about being independent and having their own lives and expressing things in relationships. It was such a fundamental change in society of men and women's roles at that time.
I would agree. I mean, there are some songs that are included in this show that have gender flips in them.
Yeah.
And even though some of the songs were written from a masculine point of view, the female singer said, you know what, we're going to go ahead and flip this over, and it's going to be from my point of view. And that was really cool. That's what made it very special and really changed the whole genre, if you would. And then you had some of the favorites. So let's talk about some of the songs that you're going to be singing for this show.
Okay. So the first one is These Boots Are Made for Walking. And I've had a ton of fun with that song over the years, just karaoke-wise. So I can only imagine how much more fun it will be in a different setting. That's a pretty fun song. A little bit of attitude there.
A little bit.
A little bit. Gives me some freedom to express some attitude. Ode to Billy Joel is also a super cool song. The meaning behind that, I don't know that anybody exactly knows. There was a movie that came out after. But that's really cool because Bobby Gentry actually grew up by a bridge called Tallahatchie Bridge. So I know that. Baby It's You. That one I'd never heard until you asked me to sing it for the show, I'll be honest. And I'm excited. I get to go from a whisper to a scream type vocal all at the same time in the same song. And I think that's a gender flip song you were talking about, right?
Yep, exactly.
So that one will be fun.
And you're going to be tested as far as your vocals go and your
Absolutely.
range. But as I know it's probably a challenge for you, but also it's got to be liberating. It's got to be free.
Absolutely.
Kind of a freeing feeling to be able to just do these different,
Absolutely.
levels.
It's a lot like singing Janice. You don't have to worry about being exactly on pitch or a crack in your voice because it just enhances the song.
Well, that's one of the things that's really a favorite of mine is when we listen to songs that have that raspy, song. And one of my favorite singers who we're doing some songs with is Dusty Springfield. And she's pretty awesome. So, Diane, tell us a couple of the songs that you're doing and what excites you about those songs that you've been assigned.
Well, I'm going to be singing Different Drum, which was Linda Ronstadt's first big hit. And that's one that did flip genders. It was about a guy who's trying to rein her in. And she's like, nope, sorry, dude. This ain't happening for me. and I love it. And I'm also doing Joni Mitchell, one of my favorites of that period, Big Yellow Taxi. And I love that because that's just more the flippant fun. She's saying they paved paradise and put up a parking lot. And some of the EPA, the whole environmental thing started at that time too, which was interesting. So she has a statement about that. She has a lot of statements, actually.
Well, yeah, and she's such an icon from the 60s. And the Big Yellow Taxi was an icon too, because I agree with you. Until I started doing research into the song, I was like, okay, what's this song really about? But when she said she landed in Hawaii and got from the airport to her hotel, and all she saw were parking lots as far as the eye could see, and how it was that between her and paradise. And so I thought, wow, that is really powerful. And so when you know the meaning of the songs and the spirit that it brings to them, that makes the music even more that much more powerful. At least to me. What do you guys feel about that?
I think so too.
Yeah, it's just women were finally speaking out at that time, and that was a big change in society. And yet they were still showing their emotions, and it was society had pegged, here's the husband and he went to work, and here's the woman in the kitchen at home, and it all changed then. So
yeah,
and I'm learning a lot about this also because the 60s was a few decades prior to my time. I love the music, and I did. Wait a
minute, are you trying to say that we're old?
No, but what I'm saying...
Okay, I lived through the 60s.
What I'm saying is I didn't get to live through it, and so when I'm learning, I'm getting an education here. Not only... You don't learn about the musical history in school.
Yeah.
You learn about some of the other stuff, but one thing I noticed by researching Joni Mitchell, I did not know she had wrote Woodstock. I know that song from Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young. I had no idea that she wrote it.
See, and you just taught me something. I didn't know she wrote that
she
either.
did.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing. Yeah. That is amazing. So part of the other thing that we're doing with this show, it's going to be, it's kind of an anomaly, if you will, because the show is different than you'll ever see. I mean, you won't see anything like this show. We're going to infuse some drama into it, but it's not going to be like a rock opera. Okay. I use that term, when we were talking in a few of our meetings, but it's not really that. It's more because the 60s was such a significant era for us. With all these changes and with there's so many things happening in the world that and then the music, basically what it did, to me, the music of the 60s was a reflection of what was going on, like a real reflection. And I think that's why that there was this paradigm shift from the 50s to the 60s of the doo-wop type of style, fun music, the bubblegum. Not that there weren't really good songs from the 50s, because I love the 50s as well, but because we're focusing on the 60s, I'm really digging into it deeply, and I'm trying to learn as much as I can of everything that happened during that time. So let's talk about how this whole thing how it's all germinating, how it's all coming together. One of the things that I did was I wanted to write a show, produce this show, so that we could create an experience for our guests. And you guys knew that from the very beginning. I kept saying that it's about an experience, because you're a performer, so you guys go on stage and you perform to sometimes small crowds, sometimes large crowds, and so you get this vibe, you get this feedback, But this one is something that's going to be a little more introspective, I guess, and I think that the guests that come and come to this event, they're going to be literally taken back to this era. Whether it's the costumes, the dresses, those kinds of things that you'll be wearing, the songs that will be sang or sung. Is it sing, sang, sung?
One of those. One of those.
Okay. So, from your perspective, because you guys have been working together already, collaborating on songs. By the way, we have 5 singers, and they're each going to be singing 2 solos, right?
3 for me.
3 for you,
Yes.
Okay, 2 for you,
2 for me.
and then we're going to have pair up 2 of them for duos, and then the grand finale, we're going to have all 5 of the singers up on stage
It's gonna be awesome.
doing 2. And I'm not going to tell you which songs they are, because that's like what is the term that they use when they tell you? Oh, a spoiler.
No spoilers here.
No spoilers. So
For the right price, I might.
okay, keep an eye on her.
Okay, maybe.
Hey,
So
Women of the 60s.
So with that in mind, so there was some collaboration. Now keep in mind, these ladies had never even met before this project,
no.
and I basically threw them in the deep end and said, okay, not only do you guys have to sing these songs that you maybe aren't familiar with, but you got to sing them together. So how did you guys collaborate, or how are you collaborating to pull this off, to make this happen?
No, basically, it's first I'll be playing guitar with a man I play guitar with, Bill Whitesides, and we're getting the music together in the keys that they want, and figuring out some arrangements. Then we start meeting and working out the arrangements and the vocals, and it's just basic. Let's get the music learned, and then we'll add the flair as we
Absolutely.
go.
Okay.
Well, initially, the ad, I was tagged in an audition notice. I didn't know. I'd never eaten at Rovali's. I knew nothing really about what was going on. I'm a little sheltered. So I got tagged in this audition notice, and I thought, I've never done anything quite like this. I'm just going to go check it out. What can they say? Tell me no? And so I got with the guitarist for my band and had him play, because my first question to Alex was, I know you want singer players. I don't play. Can I bring someone with me? And he obliged. And then my guitarist will be unable to play one of the shows. And Diane has been gracious enough to learn these songs and play. I play this much guitar and I sing a little bit. But when I start playing, I can sing that much or I can play that much. So thankfully we have talented people like her to help.
And I think it's really cool because Diane did step up. We have 2 singers that are they're pretty good on the guitar and pretty good at vocals, but to pull off what we want to pull off, and the cool thing is that these guys were gracious enough also to not to feel threatened or to feel like you're not really good enough. It was like, we would like you to focus on the vocals so that we get the very best. And then Diane, she came up and she says, I'd be happy to play for them.
Yeah.
And so Bill is going to be also accompanying
Right.
Diane. Now, Diane is part of a group called Bill and Diane, and they play all over the place. They play at Rovali's a lot. And so they have a lot of years going back and a lot of practice together. So she trusts him 100%. But for us, it made our job a lot easier because we were kind of scrambling. Okay, you lost your guitarist because he had other engagements that he couldn't break, and so when you deal with this many people, it's things can fray, and you have to be really careful.
So we're just trying to get the arrangements so that it remains. We capture the essence of the song, the hooks and what that song is about, but still so that it complements the vocals. So it's intimate and yet it captures that, so the vocalist can go ahead and make it happen.
Yeah, and concentrate on that
Yeah.
because it's nice if you have that freedom when you're performing to not have any inhibitions, you know,
Right.
because in order for us to create this experience for our guests, because we want you leaving going, wow, what just happened here? You know, something really special happened here. And so this team of vocalists, these ladies, are putting in a ton of work. They're doing their homework and they're practicing and they're doing everything that's necessary so that we have that wow factor.
Yeah.
You know,
And when you're learning a new song or learning it's the same song with a different accompanist or other people singing with you, just different environment, the first few times you go through that song, it really is just kind of making sure you get your foundation and you're hitting these certain points you need to hit. And as you become comfortable, the more comfort you have, the more freedom you're going to gain.
When you start performing it
Absolutely.
as it was meant to be performed. So.
You can add little bits and pieces. And there are certain songs I sing, I know every time I sing them, they're different. But I know exactly where the instruments are going to be, and I know what freedom I have and what I can add safely and still carry the song through.
So a lot of groundwork right now to get so that the guitars complement the vocalists. We want that to be the focus is on the singers.
yes,
So
yeah, exactly. And you know, but to have the right
it's
guitar, the right sound,
the right rhythm, it's all got to be there.
everything has to really fit into place. To me, this is probably one of the most exciting shows that I've ever done because there's so many moving parts. But the cool thing is that everybody that's in the cast, they're willing to, you know, share the spotlight. They're willing to do what's necessary to team up to create this awesome event. You know, and I'll tell you one thing. I'm getting people that are coming into Rovali saying, "I need my tickets now. Let me put my name on a waiting list." And I have to tell them, and I hate to tell them this because I don't like to say no.
I know.
You know, especially when they say, "Here's my money. Take my money."
Yeah.
By the way, this is a ticketed event, and because we have limited seating, we're going to be outside in Rovali's courtyard. We've got a stage that we built last year. We're going to have lighting, shade. It's going to be really comfortable out there, and
Awesome.
Yes,
so
it is going to be awesome
Amazing.
because then these guys can really go to town on the vocals, and
Right.
we're not going to worry about acoustics on the inside of the building.
Right.
So that gives us a lot of freedom. But the best part is that you get as a guest, you get to come and enjoy maybe a glass of wine, a nice dinner. You know, bring your favorite person and hang out and enjoy some music. And some of the other dramatic things that I don't want to give you any spoilers to that either, but there's going to be some dramatic things happening here, and so you know, from my perspective, being plugged into you guys and just being able to work with you has been awesome. And I didn't know that you were tagged on Facebook.
Somebody
the
tagged
post.
me. Somebody said, "Ashley, you need to do this," and I thought, well, okay. I've never done anything like this before. I didn't know about your restaurant. For the record, we ate there Saturday night. 2 thumbs up. Absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
And we will definitely be coming back.
And
Great service.
And her husband is super nice. He's a really neat guy.
And he loves Italian food, so he's sold. We will be back. It was great.
Now, one of the cool things too is when I first asked Diane to be part of this, she jumped at the chance. She was like so excited, you know. And Diane has performed. She performs. How many times a week do you perform?
3, 4.
3 or 4 times a week, every week.
Every week.
You know, and that tells you the true love of an artist. You know, when you're doing it that much, and somebody says, "Hey, would you like to be part of this?" and they jump at the chance. I mean, to me, you know, it was real blessing to have you do that because I knew all of the stuff that you brought, and then when you went above and beyond and you volunteered to say, "I'll play," you know, for some of these ladies, and I was just like, oh man, that's fantastic.
It was easy. I love this music. This music is where I came from, so I love it.
Well, the commitment is huge because I know I have a strong commitment, and this has been a huge commitment for me. And I don't play 3 and 4 nights a week. I have band practice one night and an occasional gig here and there, and it's awesome what you're doing to.
But
really a lot of commitment.
When you love it, it's not work.
That's true.
Exactly.
Is that weird?
That is true.
So,
You know, and I also want to thank all the ladies that came out to audition.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think we had 10 or 11 ladies come out for a 5-part performance. And so although everyone was really good, we chose the ones that we had. But I did remind these other ladies that came out to audition, please hang with us because we're going to be doing more shows.
More shows.
There's already ideas in the cooker. You brought it up. There's different decades that we can do, different styles. We may do love songs. We may do all kinds of different things. But my hope is that this show is really successful, because once a show is successful, then we do an annual event and we make it an annual show so that it gets better and bigger every year. So the tickets for this show are $12. I originally said $12.50, but that was a weird number, so I said, no, let's not do that. And we do ask that you would buy an entree and a drink as well. But trust me, it's going to be well worth the money, okay? Because you're gonna see a show that you won't see anywhere else, and we're super excited about it. So, what would you say? What is going to be your biggest input? I mean, what are you going to bring that is going to give us the wow factor? And I'll ask both of you guys that.
Well, I think just to get across how awesome the music was at that time, what the artists were trying to convey at that time, and just to give a really good reflection of that is what I'm after, is like, look, this was awesome music. Some of it has been forgotten. And I want to show, like, this was just where it all came from. A lot of our music today is still built on that very foundation. In fact, that's when I started playing guitar, was in those early years, in the 60s. I'm going to date myself, okay? And that's okay.
That's okay.
That is okay.
Because that's what carried me playing guitar all these years, is it was just, I was so in love with the music, and I couldn't get enough of it. I still can't get enough of it, so...
Yep, that's good. And so what about you? I mean, you're younger, you weren't from that era, and you're learning all about this. So how does that excite you to bring your very best to this show?
Well, it does excite me. Music speaks, and it doesn't matter how old the song is. It doesn't matter when it was written. And to me, I like the songs that you can't even classify into a genre. A good song is a good song to me. And a lot of this music I loved before, and a couple of these songs are new, and I'm just excited to be able to bring my little bit of flavor to them and just express them in the way that I feel comes from me. Because if you're not singing with some sort of meaning, it's not going to come across to your audience as a very powerful or a wow factor type song.
Okay.
So I'm just going to bring my best and practice till I'm confident, because when my confidence is there, that's usually when I do the best. So
excellent.
Yeah.
And the other thing I want you to know is these ladies are not trying to impersonate anybody. They're not trying to impersonate the singers of the songs. They are doing it with their style, and they're doing it with the feeling that they're bringing. So it's not going to be something that you see in Vegas where they're sounding exactly like these. It's coming from the heart. It's going to be real. And with the other pieces of drama that we're adding to the show, it's really going to tie everything together so that all of us are going on this journey, and going through the 60s. We're going to go through a whole decade, and it's going to be amazing.
awesome.
And what I love is you really did your research when you did this show, because a lot of the songs, I was like, oh, I forgot how good that was. Oh, that was a great song. So I love the music you've chosen. Because some of them, I was like, oh yeah. And I love that. And you have researched it so well to capture just time frames and what was going on in the world and how that music kind of came from what was happening in the world. So I love it.
Yeah, and there's a song or two in there that they sound like they're almost late 50s, but they're 60s songs. And the reason why they're in there is because you could see the transition of the actual transition. You could hear it in the song, and so that really. It's like that song has to be in this journey, because we're going from one era to another, and then we're gonna take them through the whole decade, And so I appreciate that. I'm glad that you said that, because I wanted to put the time in myself of doing the research, finding out what was happening during those times, and and then tying it all together, because just like the song, every song that you sing, it tells a story. From the
Absolutely.
beginning
Right,
to the end,
right.
it says telling a story. So here's the deal. Here's the challenge. We've got all of these songs that we have, and we've got to tie all these songs together. And we have to tie it in a decade that saw tremendous change. And then we have to finish it up. It has to have a tail end to where this is the epilogue, you know. And all of our guests are going to sit there and they're going to say, very, very nice. You know, and that's what we want. And so we're going to do our best for you guys. And we want you, the tickets will go on sale May 2nd and at 11 a.m. And trust me, this show is going to sell out. It's June 17th and 18th. And